What's up guys, Barry Gaming here, back with some more AFK Journey, and today we're going to be talking about those heroes, well, most people don't talk about too much, and what I think are kind of underrated heroes. Now, most of the time we don't talk about these heroes because, well, they're more either PvP oriented, extreme endgame oriented, or they're more having niche uses. Whereas if you're a free-to-play player in the early game, you want to go for that core team that can kind of do good just about in everything. However, some of the heroes on these lists do extremely well in specific game modes. So let's go over, in my opinion, the top 5 underrated heroes in AFK Journey. Now, first up on this list is going to be Parisa. She is a mage from the Wilder faction, and well, I think she does get looked over a lot because she is an A-level hero, and a lot of times, unless they're the best of A-level heroes, people kind of discount this hero. However, her abilities are actually pretty strong with some decent buffing abilities, and on top of that, AoE damage. So first off, her Floral Inspiration. This increases the attack speed by 22 and the normal attack damage by 22% for 10 seconds for herself and one nearest ally. So even if you're doing boss battles and you have an OD type team and you're not necessarily using like a Kruger or something, since magic damage and everything, this can actually help buff up the damage someone like an OD can do. So if she's paired up with another big damage dealer, this is absolutely amazing. Beyond that, after every 3 normal attacks, she launches a bouquet of flowers that basically just expands and moves towards her target. It's going to deal damage to everything along the way, and enemies hit with the flower are going to restore her by 7 energy up to 3 times, which is pretty good because the more ultimates she can get, the better. Her Floral Splendor is amazing. It marks the nearest non-marked enemy with a flower until the battle ends, dealing damage to all floral marked targets. So if there's more floral marks out there, she's going to be doing damage to all of them, and it's going to hit that target plus 1 enemy within 1 tile of them. So if the enemies are grouped up, I mean, Aaron type teams, you know, this could be very, very good. Now, she does get a little better at Mythic Plus because she marks the nearest enemy in a symmetrical position when the battle starts. You know how like you can swap with heroes like Reiner for the symmetrical spot on the other side, or when you're marking them with other heroes like Silvina and stuff. This is pretty good because it basically allows you to put more marks up, get some up immediately, and then her ultimate is going to hit better. If you guys are looking for a budget kind of AoE damage dealer, especially that can pair well with like your OD or something, Parisa is definitely it. Now, it's funny, I do think when I kind of look at the heroes in this game, a lot of Wilders are slept on a little bit. So if you're a fan of the Wilders, you're probably going to really like this video. Bryon is definitely going to be the next one on my list, and he's very unique in the fact that when the battle starts, he actually uses his ultimate, and then he will slowly be draining energy across the fight. So yeah, when the battle starts, he instantly gets 1000 initial energy and summons his Falcon, Alona. So Alona is basically going to be dealing damage, running around the battlefield, but it will make him consume energy. So as long as he still has energy, the Falcon will stay on the battlefield doing damage and such. The second he dies, the Falcon will disappear. His basic kind of attack is just summoning 4 magic leaves and attack the target. There's really nothing special or extra with it, but I do like his Shadow Flash. So this is a passive, and his normal attacks and skills deal damage 2 times, but he absorbs 50 energy from the target. When he activates it, it's going to, or the active portion of it deals damage 2 times for targets. And then when you do get it leveled up a little bit further here, normal attacks and skills deal damage 2 times, granting Alona's next normal attack with a Thunderbolt type ability. So it's really, really cool because it has a skill interruption effect on it too, and seems really interesting. When he does get to legendary, essentially if him and Alona are on the battlefield together, they have extra haste, and the exclusive on him is interesting. So basically, he's going to be able to stun targets that either control him or when he takes more than 15% of his max HP from that target. So he has a pretty good amount of CC. However, this can only happen once every 20 seconds. Further on, he can basically do some other special things, like when he takes Fatal Blow for the first time, Alona is going to consume all the energy to block the fatal damage and restore HP to him. So it's a nice second life. And then at Supreme Plus, which is probably not something you're going to get on a hero like this, but it does does say generates two leaves besides Alone of the Falcon if the Falcon is on the battlefield when the Gale ability is cast. So he can be very, very strong. I know there's a lot of fans of this hero out there. It's just we usually don't use him too much because, once again, he's not at the top of any list. So if you're not at the very top, people tend to not play that hero because they're trying to be optimal, but he's still a very good pick. Number 3 on this list is going to be Viperian from the Graveborn. I've previously talked about him being a very good pick, especially if you're going for like a Graveborn centric team. But I want to talk about him one more time because I've had him at Mythic Plus and I do think he's really, really interesting. Let's start off with his basic kind of attack, Soul Ravager. He's going to drain HP, which is kind of good because that's more survivability from the enemy, and recover HP equal to the damage that he deals. His enchantment Fang has a passive ability that makes his Dark Vipers launch Tearing Bite once every 3 seconds, dealing damage to once to all possessed enemies, and then the active portion burns maximum HP percentage, which is really cool, for the next Tearing Bite, dealing damage to the target and reducing their energy. So it doesn't steal energy like a lot of the heroes we talked about today, but he's basically still taking away energy so that they cannot use it. He has increased haste, which is cool, and his ultimate ability is cool. It has a passive portion of it which says Viperian burns HP as much as possible when the battle starts, sending Dark Vipers to possess all enemies until his HP is below 60%. This is why if you ever use him and you wonder why he's taking so much damage at the beginning, it's because of this right here. During the skill, he is unaffected while losing 7% of max HP for each Dark Viper deployed. Every possessed enemy drops 20 energy on hit, which again, really cool, keeping them from using their ultimates, losing 1% HP per second to sustain the survivability of those Dark Vipers. Viperian calls a Dark Viper back to recover HP as well when he drops below 30%. So he has a way to keep himself alive too. And then the active portion is good too. He deals 280% damage to all possessed enemies. So that's why when he does use that ultimate, if you have a lot of those Dark Vipers out, boom, a lot of enemies take big damage. If you do get his exclusive going, he burns 30% HP 10 seconds into the battle if his HP is above 90%. So essentially, even after this, if he does get energy back, he'll do a huge 420% damage to all enemies, and he's unaffected while casting this. It can also be triggered once every 30 seconds, which is cool. And then at Supreme Plus, the Dark Vipers return when the possessed enemies are defeated, giving that heal and some energy, which is really awesome. He has some really good AoE damage. He has some sustain, and you'll notice a lot of these heroes are mages, and I think mages are kind of slept on for the most part besides the really strong PvP ones. Next up is the assassin Silvina. So she is kind of like one of the poster childs, I feel like, for the game. You see her image around a lot, and she is a deadly assassin mainly because of her first strike ability. If you've ever been in combat against this hero, you probably already know what she does, but at the beginning of battle, she's going to mark the closest enemy in a symmetrical position. So it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical across the battlefield. It's going to pick someone closest to that tile, and she's going to instantly jump over to that enemy, launch an attack immediately when the battle starts. That's really, really big because beyond that, when she does get her exclusive, she's also going to be getting a shield to block damage so that it gives her a little survivability just in case she's jumping into the middle of a bunch of enemies. But this is really cool. When you do get her leveled up further, it's actually going to stun the target for 5 seconds, which basically means your support hero is probably dead. Beyond that, her Blade Vortex basically is her normal attack that becomes a Whirl Assault for the first 12 seconds of battle. So she's going to jump to the other side, do her Whirl Assault. It's going to deal a ton of damage. And then if you defeat the marked enemy, it's going to continue that even longer. Beyond that, her Shadow Slayer ability is very simple. I like how simple her abilities are, but how strong they are. She's going to deal a huge amount of burst damage to an enemy and also reduce their energy by 200 if they are not killed, which is really, really, really awesome. Beyond that, she also reduces the target's vitality for each Whirl Assault, so that is a really cool synergy. She's deadly in PvP, but amazing at picking off enemy support heroes as well. And I think the most slept on hero in the game is most definitely Seth. And it's kind of because he's extremely good at everything he does, but he's just like one slight tier below the best of the best in every one of those tiers, which is why most people don't even put him on the wish list. He's definitely a hero to build eventually and not right away. However, his abilities are really, really cool. I love his Predator's Lunge. This basically is going to automatically target the weakest enemy. He's going to lunge and move across the battlefield to them, dealing damage. On top of that, he deals damage based on the target of the target's lost HP as well, which is really cool. It does have a cap at his attack, so the stronger he is, the more damage it will deal. His Honor Instinct is unique in the fact that he gains stacks of Bloodlust when the HP of a non-summon enemy first falls below 33%. It later is 50% if you get him leveled up, and it stacks up to 3 times. Each stack permanently increases his haste and life drain, which is going to help his survivability, and he gains 25% physical and magic defense when this first triggers, keeping him alive to be able to do more in combat. His hero focus just simply gives him more attack, which is good, and his ultimate is really awesome. He's gonna basically jump towards an enemy, deals damage 3 times, freezes them in place, and then also deals additional damage to the target. During this, he becomes invincible, which means he's not going to take damage, and recovers HP equal to 25% of the total damage he does during this ability. And he's going to prioritize the weakest enemy, which synergizes a ton with things like this. It might get him another stack of that Bloodlust. It's really, really cool. His Mythic plus Unlock, the exclusive, is really good too, because whenever a non-summon enemy is defeated, he immediately resets his lunge ability and jumps to the next lowest HP target, recovering energy as well. This is awesome, and honestly, he's kind of one of my favorite Supreme Pluses I've seen for unlocks. The target's physical defense is reduced by an extra 15% for each attack or each stack of Bloodlust that he has. So this is really, really cool. I like it because that means he's going to be able to do a lot more damage. And again, he's a lot like Shakir. He's a lot like some assassins in the game, the rogues in this game, but I think he's really slept on a lot. And if you're building a budget team, he can fit very, very well, even against bosses. So let me know what you guys think. Are there any other heroes you think people kind of sleep on and should give a try a little bit more, whether it's early game, mid game, late game, PvP, bosses? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your favorite hero is that people don't typically use in the comments down below. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and I'll see you guys next time.